Hey there guys, welcome to the next video here on the channel. In this tutorial we're going to be going over how to make braided bracelets, which is something that has been extremely requested on the channel for a long time. I'm actually going to start off this video with kind of like a panoramic view of Hollywood studios, which is kind of neat. I know you guys are going to get maybe a little tired of the trivia, so we're going to take a little break for that. I'm going to show you a view of Hollywood studios in the beginning of this video and at the end as well. So hopefully you like the tutorial on braided bracelets. So here we go. Okay guys, so let's get started here on making the braided bracelets. Now I apologize for kind of the weird camera angle, but to make braided bracelets you pretty much don't even need a cutting mat. You pretty much just need the side of a table or a counter or something like that, because it's going to make your weaving a whole lot easier. So definitely find, like, the side of your kitchen table or just some sort of countertop so that you can definitely weave your bracelet here together. So let's get started here on making this. Alright, so I know there are a lot of videos on YouTube on how to make duct tape braided bracelets, but a lot of people wanted me to make a video and were really screaming for a video for the past couple months, so I definitely wanted to crank one out here and show you guys how to make it. It's pretty much exactly the same way. I mean, a lot of the bracelets are made exactly the same way, but I'll show you how I do it. It's probably pretty close to what everyone else does. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut out 3 strips of tape. Basically, what you're going to cut out 2 for each kind, and you want to just cut them out to if whatever your bracelets you're making, about if the double the length of your strip is going to end up with how much of a woven bracelet you have. So if you cut out 10-inch strips, you're going to end up with a 5-inch bracelet roughly. So for my wrist, I have to cut out probably about 14 inches or so, maybe 15 inches to get it all the way around my wrist. So these are just 10-inch strips here, and I'll show you how to make the bracelet, and you can make it to any size you want. So you want to cut out 2 strips of each color, so 2 strips of checker, for example, 2 strips of leopard, 2 strips of paint splatter, stick them together. And then you want to cut out about 1/4 of those 2 strips. These are all double-sided, no sticky side showing. So you should be able to make about 4 bracelets if if these are 1/4 of the 2 strips that you stuck together. So now let's get started on making the bracelet here. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is arrange them all pretty close to the edge of your counter here. Make sure they're all aligned at the top here. It doesn't really make too much difference as to what order they are, because they're just going to be woven together and that's not really going to affect anything. You want to stick a strip of tape just like that onto your countertop. Make sure it's good and stuck down. And you'll notice if you just put this one strip, if you kind of lift up on the side, it does a really good job of just peeling itself up. So I have 2 more strips here that are going to kind of go against that of the same direction as the strips here, and that should make it a lot easier on yourself, and it'll stay down a little bit better. So now you can tell it's got these 2 strips working against it, so now it's a little bit harder to pull it up here. It does come up a little bit, but it's a lot harder because it has these 2 strips. So now let's start weaving them together. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky. The only way to really get good at braiding your bracelets or weaving them is to practice with it, and that's really the way of getting better at it. But we'll start here with the left side. So you kind of just want to angle it over just like this, and then angle the next one over. You kind of want to get really tight when it first starts out. So you got, when this bar here, you want to kind of make sure they are nice and tight. And you kind of can fold them over as you go down, and that'll make it nice and pretty at the end. It's really just a trick of getting to know how they fold and how they scrunch up, and that's what you'll get better at it over time. And if it ever one doesn't look good or one weave doesn't look good, you just redo that one part and then just do it again, and it will look better on the next try, I promise. So just kind of weave them together. You pull on the one beforehand to kind of cinch it up, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what the previous braids looked like. So you can kind of just weave them together and keep weaving them together just like this. Starting to look pretty cool. The different patterns, like the checker and the paint splatter and everything, don't really show up too well on a bracelet because they're so tiny. If you use bigger strips, you might be able to see a lot more of the pattern, but when it's tiny, it doesn't really make too much sense to put a whole bunch of braided patterns on. So solid colors will probably work a little bit better. So you're pretty much just going to keep wrapping these down just like this, just making sure that all of them are the same exact size. I will show you how to put some magnets on here more or less towards the end of the tutorial. A lot of people use magnets on their braided bracelets, kind of a tongue twister, but I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So just keep weaving this all the way down until you get your desired length, and then I'll show you how to seal it up at the bottom. So just weave it all the way down just like that. So that's what it looks like towards the end there. Now I'll just take one of these strips, since they're right here, nice and convenient, and I'll put the edge of it right where the braids start to unravel, or where you stop braiding, right over here. Like I said before, this bracelet probably isn't big enough for me, but remember, you're just making it to whatever length you want to. And kind of just wrap this around as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect because we'll be trimming this off in just a second. So you can kind of peel this entire thing up, just like that. You can take that piece off. And if you want to, you can kind of just wrap these around the exact same way. This strip's probably going to be a little bit bigger, so I can trim a lot of that off in just a second, but you guys get the idea. You could really just pull this piece off and then put a nicer piece right on there. So now let's trim a little bit off and add some magnets to it. Alright, so using a pair of scissors, we're just going to trim off about an inch or so you have about an inch left over. And that'll make it look a lot cleaner, just like that. And obviously you can make this any color you want. The red just kind of contrasts with the rest of the colors pretty well. So we got those two cut off. Now I'll show you how to put some magnets on it. Okay, so unfortunately I haven't been able to get to the Joann's Fabrics down here, which has a whole bunch of really awesome magnets with a good selection of them. So I'm going to be able to show you how to do this with 2 pennies. So just assume that these are, just 2 magnets, and they're pretty much exactly the same size as magnets, maybe a little bit bigger, but they are just kind of a little thin, but you'll get the idea when I show you how it works. So once you've gotten those 2 sides, all you have to do is take your magnet, or in this case your penny, or at least I'm showing you, stick it obviously on here, and you want the polarity obviously to be facing the right direction. And you kind of can pop this out a little bit so it's more of a solid surface. Then you can put this part on the side, just like this. And then you simply just wrap it around until you get the magnet, or in this case the penny, to be a flat surface on top of your bracelet. And the penny is a little bit bigger because it's a lot wider than any of the magnets would be, but you can definitely cover it up. The magnet won't be affected by the duct tape at all. And you kind of just take a few more strips, like I'll take another strip here and kind of wrap around this side. So now the penny, or your magnet, is now just kind of sitting directly on top of that area that kind of flares up there on the side, which you can see right there. So the penny just sits right on top of there, or the magnet, and then eventually when you put it on your wrist, it just snaps together just like that. So that's pretty much one of the best ways to attach magnets to your braided bracelets. And you can, if the magnets are smaller, it'll work a lot better when you do have, just setting it on top of that piece. Penny's a little bit big, so it's not a great example, but it's the only thing I had. So that's pretty much how to make braided bracelets. They're really not that hard to make. It's pretty simple, and after a while, you can get really good at weaving them together and making sure that they all come out nice and even and nice and clean looking. So that pretty much concludes this tutorial on making a braided bracelet. I will be working on these in the future to make them look a lot better and incorporate a few new things into them. So I'll probably be filming another tutorial on a few other different ways of doing this eventually. So watch out for that eventually, and I'll catch you guys next time. Let's hit back to the Hollywood Studios for another glimpse of the park.
Hey,
zoom.
Tomorrowland, and our promise of things to come.
I was scared for John.
Florida project. In fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing at Disney World will be our experimental prototype city.